Latiya City Expats Club is a non-profit social organisation and our speakers are volunteers. The club as such assumes no responsibility or liability for the professional reputation of or the quality of services provided by the speaker today.
Darryl was with us a couple months ago to talk about digital business, and he's going to explain that a little bit more further today. So without further ado, Darryl, take it away. They're all yours.
Thank you, George. Good to be back with you all. Thank you so much. Good to see so many of you. Obviously, some of you have never met me before, so that's nice. I like when there's a lot of people here. That's great. So last time I was here, I talked about online shopping and the future of online shopping, which is evolving pretty quickly. Can I just see a show of hands of anybody in this room who's never bought something online? You've never, ever bought something online. 1, 2, 3 of you. Okay, so 3 people out of everyone else have never bought something online. And that's pretty amazing. I actually expected a few more. But that means most of you are already in the digital economy. Could I see a show of hands of anyone who does not have a mobile phone? Can I see a show of hands? 1, this gentleman again, 1. Just 1. Okay, congratulations. You're living stress-free. Good for you. So out of, I don't know, 80 or 100 people or something, we've got 1, to 2% that are not involved in the digital revolution. So that's an exception, and there will always be exceptions. Somebody said to me today, "You move around a lot, Darryl." I'm sorry if I find that a bit distracting, but when you've got a really cool one. I had a few of those. So anyway, what I'm here to talk about today is over the next 3 to 5 years, the impact of the digital revolution, which I call it, is coming upon us. And I just want to tell you, apart from our gentleman here who may not have, but most of us in this room, I can assume now, because you've done online shopping, you've all surfed the internet. You've been online and you've done things on the internet. And to do that, many of you do that with your smartphone. This mobile device that's more powerful than the rocket that took men to the moon. Okay, and it's in your pocket or in your hand, hopefully with the volume turned off. And most of you probably have been on some form of social media. Maybe you use WhatsApp, maybe you use Facebook, maybe you use Line, and you get all these ads and promotions and media that comes on these social apps. And I want to tell you now that the digital revolution that is coming in the next 3 to 5 years. Can I see a show of hands of who would like to be alive in 3 to 5 years? Okay, there's a few. Okay, most of you. Yeah, lucky I'm not married to your partner. What I'm going to tell you is that this revolution that's coming, you need to think in terms of 10x, the internet, the smartphone, and social media in combination. Has the internet changed our life? Well, yes. Has the smartphone changed our life? Yes. Those who use it all get free calls all around the world. I remember when I was living and doing volunteer service abroad in the Pacific Islands for about a year as a youngster, the only way I could communicate with my family and loved ones was to go to a phone box somewhere or the post office, put a lot of money over the counter and make a call home. Usually it was what we call a collect call or reverse charge if you're American. And, I would get my parents to pay, and I'd only do that about once a month. Now, if I'm overseas, I call my loved ones multiple times a day if I want to, and it's free. Is that a revolution or not? Well, hell yes. The mobile phone has revolutionized the economy in Africa. In fact, the Africans, in Kenya in particular, but other African nations, they've leapfrogged the West by transferring money to one another as easy as we transfer an SMS or a text message of any form. And they do it all the time. They live like that. They run little businesses like that because they can't open bank accounts. Because what bank wants to open an account with $10 or $5? But somebody in Africa, maybe with $5, can feed the family for a week, and they'll pay the vendor with mobile money. That's not even here in the West yet, but it's in Africa everywhere. So what I'm telling you is so profound that it might sound somewhat unbelievable to some of you. Look, I'm a small town country boy. I'll be 70 next year. I know I look older, but you know that's just what living in Thailand's done to me. And in my little town, you know, where it was so small, even the massage parlour was self-service. So, I mean, it was a really small town. But here I am at almost 70 years of age doing this tech thing, this digital thing. In fact, I've got a tech-based business in Australia, which is the largest online shopping centre in Australia. We've got about 50,000 merchants in our network right now, and we're heading towards 100,000 by year end. And I'm doing this digital thing. Now, lucky for me, I know how to delegate, because I don't do the programming, I don't do the direct IT stuff. I'm more of a promoter, and you know, you may have worked that out about me. It's in my nature. I love to hit the sound of my own voice. I like to talk quite a bit, and the bigger the crowd is, the more I like it. So here's this little small town boy that grew up in a tiny little town called Cambridge in the North Island of New Zealand that, you know, had about 6 cows and a bunch of sheep when I was growing up there, and a couple of adults living in houses around the place, but it was really tiny. And here I am today, retired in a country that's not my home country where I was born, but part of a business that's based in Australia and taking on the world in the world of e-commerce. So if I can do it, most of you can do it. I won't say anyone can do it, because that would be an overstatement, but most people can do it. The big key is wanting to. Now, I want to tell you, even the most resistant, and there's hardly any in this room, but there might be some, the digital revolution is happening in the next 3 to 5 years, whether you like it or not, whether you fight it or not. There's an old truism that goes, well, if you can't beat them, mate, join them, right? So food for thought, take it away, think about it, sleep on it, whatever. It might be hard for you to imagine that the digital tech revolution will revolutionise your life in the next 3 to 5 years, but I can assure you we're just getting started. Let's say we're 10% of the way there. Let's say the speed of this thing is doubling every year, and I can assure you it's actually going faster than that. But if it was doubling every year, next year it would go from 10% to 20%. The second year it would go to 40%. The third year it would go to 80%, and the fifth year it would go to 160%. That's how fast it's going. And I can assure you it's going faster than that. We deal with Microsoft among many, many providers, but they're a partner in our business. And we speak to their top technical people every day. We're probably dealing with about 100 of them. And their top AI technical people tell us, Darryl, Neil, my business partner, and Stu, my CEO, I'm the chairman, co-founder, they tell us a lot. We struggle to stay 2 weeks ahead of the game. That's Microsoft, the most biggest company in the world with the highest market capitalization. They're everywhere. They've got millions of clients, literally. So right now they're building a $100 billion AI cloud servers around the world right now. And they're just one of many. You can think of Tesla and X and Google and Facebook and Amazon, just to name a few, NVIDIA. All these ones, they're all doing similarly. Folks, let me assure you, this train has left the station. If you're not on it, drive ahead to the next stop and jump on, because you need to go for the ride. It's here to serve you. There is negatives. There are many negatives, and I'll throw the floor open for Q&A at the end, and we can discuss what some of those negatives might be. I don't even know them all, but that's not going to stop me playing. There's negatives to the smartphone. I've got a 12-year-old daughter. You know, she lives on her smartphone. It's not all good. Am I going to take her smartphone away? Well, no, most of the time, no. I remember when I was a kid growing up and computers were just coming on stream and everybody was terrified we're going to lose our jobs, you know, all those secretaries with their IBM golf ball typewriters, you know, that clatter, 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 clatter. You couldn't stand the noise of more than 3 of them in a room. Those things are gone. They're relics. They're museum pieces. They're boat anchors, right? Today, everybody's on a computer, on a smartphone, or on a tablet, on some sort of digital device, and that wasn't long ago. You know, the smartphone. Does anybody know when Steve Jobs promoted the Apple iPhone 1? Anybody know? Yell it out if you know. It was 2009, 17 years ago. It's so easy for me to cast my mind back 20 years. You know, I was 50 then, you know, goodness me, I was already thinking about retirement. I wasn't young, and I'm certainly no younger now, and that was only 17 years ago. You know what? The internet came around just 10 years, less than 10 years before that. On a commercial basis, I mean, the higher learning education systems were using it, but the public didn't know anything about it. I remember when I first heard about it, I had a scientist in my world who was using it all the time. He said, "Internet? What is the internet, mate?" You know, so he began to explain to me. And you know what? Social media, Facebook's IPO only happened 12 years ago. They've got over 2 billion users today. 12 years ago, they hadn't even gone public yet, and now here they are, and now everybody's doing it. Who's not heard of ChatGPT? If you've never heard of ChatGPT. Okay, 1, 2, 3, just a few. Okay, thank you. ChatGPT is an AI, okay? It's called a large language model. Remember the acronym LLM. If you ever get it with a nerd, a tech nerd, or any sort of computer programmer speak, I don't use nerd in a derogatory way. It's just an identifier for people in the tech industry. I've got a very good friend here who I'd consider a tech nerd. He probably doesn't consider himself one. Welcome, mate. But he loves technology, you know. And I love technology, but I don't want to know how it works. I love motor cars. Don't tell me how they work. I just want to drive them. I just want to get in one, go to where I want to go, and get out and have it reliably take me there. And I don't want to know necessarily how tech works, but I do want to use it and I do want to play with it. Well, ChatGPT is an AI. It's a smart artificial intelligence, and it launched 18 months ago, the 30th of November, 2022. I heard about it 2 weeks later, by which time it already had 1 million subscribers. In like 2 or 3 weeks, they had 1 million subscribers. 2 months later, would anyone hazard a guess? Well, I won't embarrass you. They had 100 million subscribers. 2 months later. And Microsoft, seeing the opportunity, bought 49% of the company right there for $10 billion. $10 billion. It wasn't 3 months out of the gate. So it's going off right now. It's going crazy. ChatGPT and the many, many lookalikes just like it are going to revolutionize the world. Let me give you a little demo. Somebody's trying to call me, and I'm just going to cancel that call. Let me show you something. Let me show you this. Copilot, write me a short poem about the expat in Thailand that found his ideal retirement location. One second. Oops, I need to say that again. Okay, doing this on the fly. Write me a short poem about the expat in Thailand that found his ideal retirement location.
Certainly. Here's a short poem about an expat finding their ideal retirement in Thailand. In the land of smiles, under the sun's bright dial, An expat laid his map and stayed a while. With a heart open wide to the Andaman tide, he found his peace where palm trees reside. Amidst the bustling streets and the temple beats, his soul danced free to life's simple treats. The spicy scent of food lifted his mood. In this serene interlude, his youth renewed. Golden years in the glow of a sunset's show, where the warm waters flow and the cool breezes blow. He smiles at the day in a contented sway, for in Thailand's embrace, his dreams found their way. I hope you enjoyed this little piece of poetry.
Yes, we did. Thank you very much. Big hand for Microsoft Copilot. Not too bad, was it? And done on the fly. I didn't rehearse that. I had no idea what Copilot was going to tell me, but I use that technology every day. For me, Google search and all the other search engines are pretty much dead. I almost never use them. I just use that. And it gives me all the links I need to all the things I want way more specifically. I don't want to go to a Google page and see 10 links, 3 of which have been paid for by people who've got more money than God to buy that position on page 1 of Google. And all the meaningful ones are probably on page 5 of Google. And God, does anybody go there? No, not me. We have a saying in the industry that if you want to bury a dead body, put them on page 2 of Google because no one goes there. Right? So that was just ChatGPT working for Microsoft and wrote me that little poem right there. I use ChatGPT with my 12-year-old daughter all the time because she gets homework projects and I have to check them. Now, some of her projects, she gets to read books that I didn't read when I was a kid, and I don't know anything about that book or that story. So I just secretly ask my personal digital assistant to give me a review of that book in 2 paragraphs. And then I read, oh, that's how the story goes. And then I read her story and I say, oh, you forgot this person or that person. Maybe you could make an adjustment. So I find it useful on a very practical level, and that's something Google search will not do for you. And no other search will do for you. But smart AI will do that for you. Was that impressive, sir? You've never heard of ChatGPT? Was that impressive or not? Very. Right. A great poem. And you can write music. You can write lyrics. See these pictures? My little bot made those. I'm not that smart. Goodness me. Made them in like 15 seconds. Bang. Just gave it. Give me an image of the digital revolution over the next 3 to 5 years. It gave me 4 choices and I chose those 2. Bang. Just popped them in my PowerPoint. Not too difficult. How is this digital revolution going to impact us? Well, let me give you this first point. AI-driven business operations. Copilot made that image too, and every image in this slide presentation. I've had Copilot write business plans for me, executive summaries for me, do my accounting for me, give me legal advice, give me medical advice. Now, you probably want to double check a lot of these things because it's early days. How many understand and appreciate that when a new technology comes to town, it's usually, or often, a little bit clumsy and not so user-friendly? That's AI right now. Don't expect perfection, but 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, this thing's going to be smoother than a Tesla rocket. It's going to be amazing. And it's a revolution that you really want to think about being a part of in one way or another. So AI business operations, what AI is doing is providing many, many things for businesses. It does data collection, analyzes that data, tells you that, let's say, in my case, I've got an online shopping platform. The data can tell me, well, the average age of your shopper is this, the average spend of your shopper is this, the average location of your shopper are these postcodes, and what more shoppers than any shoppers buy are these products. Do you think that would be helpful to somebody in retail? I mean, really? Yes. The answer is yes. Nod your head, go like this. Because it's so important to know these things if you're in business and you intend to stay there. Because if you don't intend to stay there, then don't worry about it. If you want to stay there, you need to pay attention to these things, because otherwise some 18-year-old high school kid's just going to whip your ass. The best thing to do if you're scared about these things and you've got a business interest somewhere that needs AI in it, go and hire an 18-year-old. Say, mate, I'll give you as much pizza and beer as you can eat all weekend. Come and work for me. That's your payment. And they'll be thrilled to bits to get work experience, free pizza and free beer. Wow, you've got it. I know that because, well, I speak from experience. You've got these revolutions that are all related to tech. Has anybody used Bolt today to get here? Oh, a few of you. Okay. And you just picked up your phone, opened the Bolt app, told it where you wanted to go, and it told you how long it'd be before the car arrived. Do you think the Thai driver worked that out for you? Not a chance. No due respect. It wouldn't have been if it was a white driver, an Australian driver, an English driver, American driver. No, none of them would have worked it out. AI worked it out in like seconds. Bang. Popped it on your phone. You accepted the ride, and here you are. That's smart technology, and it's unstoppable. Uber's revolutionised the world. Before there was Bolt, before there was anybody, there was Uber. And you know, maybe only 10 or 12 years ago, Uber came along, and now it's the biggest taxi company in the world. And guess what? They don't own a taxi. Bolt doesn't own a taxi. Airbnb came along, revolutionised the accommodation space, and who's the biggest accommodation provider in the world? Well, Airbnb. Tell me where one of their hotels is. Well, just everywhere. They don't own a hotel, they don't own a room. They just use the technology to leverage what's available. That's what I'm doing with my business with Explore My Store, and it's based in Australia first. We're just leveraging merchants that have got stock that can't move it, want advertising, want space, want promotion, and just like Central Mall, I say to people quite often, what does Central Mall sell? And they go, oh, shoes and socks and groceries. No, they don't. The merchants sell that. The Central Mall just sells space. That's all they do. They're in the real estate business. And I'm in the digital real estate business. I don't sell shoes. I don't have a warehouse. I don't have any logistics. I don't have any shipping problems. I've got no returns. I've got no warranties and guarantees to look after. And it takes like 2 seconds for me to deliver my product to you digitally. And then you can use it and you can shop there and buy anything you want. I mean, obviously you've got 50-odd thousand merchants. I've got more products on sale every day in Australia than Amazon does. Think about that. And I don't take 30% from the merchant like Amazon does. And I don't worry about the returns and taking the money back off the merchant because the customer's somehow unhappy with Amazon's, with the service. No, I don't do that. That's between you, the shopper, and you, the merchant. You sort your own shit out. I put you together. How you manage the relationship's not my problem. That's Explore My Store. So we're part of the digital revolution too, and proudly so. There's a massive, massive surge in new AI products coming on stream. New apps are coming online all the time. All kinds of health apps. All kinds of health apps. Let me just run to this next slide. Scientific discovery and research. AI, what ChatGPT have done, they've captured all the language of the internet. Can you even begin to wrap your head around how much language that is? How many millions and millions of YouTube videos are there? How many billions of web pages are there? How many billions of searches have been done? What are the search phrases that people type into their searches? AI goes and gets all that. It can process that faster than all humans put together, really. Now, one thing, what that scares a lot of people about AI, and to some degree it scares me as well, so I'm not running down a road with my eyes blindfolded, not seeing what the pitfalls could be, any more than I'm buying a car and thinking, whoa, I can go as fast as I want, any direction I want, and round. No, I've got to watch out for pedestrians, watch out for the traffic lights, do a whole lot of things that just become second nature to us now. So AI's danger that a lot of people think about is that AI will develop what's called AGI, which is general intelligence. And people are frightened of when AI gets general intelligence, because when AI's got general intelligence, it's like a human, in as much as a human can act on its own, right? I can tell you that you should do something. I can even tell you you must do something, but I probably can't make you do it. AI is smart enough to work out all kinds of stuff that we haven't even begun to think about what AI could do. And it's a scary prospect on some levels. I don't want to major on the negatives today, because that's not why I'm here. I'm here to talk about the potential good things. I do believe in the goodness of humanity and human beings, generally speaking. Of course, there's corrupt and evil people around, and they'll do corrupt and evil things. But there's a lot of good people, and I believe in the goodness of humanity, and I'm banking on that the most. So what's going to happen with scientific discovery is that people are going to share this information with scientists and inventors and innovators, and the speed of progress is just going to go so much faster. It was a kid that people were sharing information by letter and postage stamps. And it would take a long time for that letter and that information. Oh, you know, we've discovered how to cure Ipska Pipska and Absta Dabsta, and you just got to do this and apply that. And the other scientist gets it across the other side of the world and tests it out and goes, well, yeah, but you didn't think about this. And he writes back a few things. And the innovation process was weeks and weeks and years longer than it is today. Today it's instantaneous. And you can have an AI your end and an AI my end, and we can be processing information without even having to think about it. So we are ushering in what I like to call a golden age of scientific breakthroughs. Today, people are living longer. Global average for the Western world anyway is sort of around the 80 mark. That could easily go a lot longer with the introduction of the scientific developments that are in the pipeline and moving along. Foreign policy and global competitiveness. This is going to impact us because politicians and advisors to politicians and bureaucrats, they're all getting clued up on this stuff. And AI will emerge as a big component in foreign policy, and governments will start to, and many are already, investing significant sums of money in the development of AI because they realise it's unstoppable. National security will be a big issue that is both a threat and a benefit. Protecting national security and, you know, for people, for bad actors, AI can be good and bad. Wars are now, you're now starting to see remotely controlled wars with drones. You know, look at Iran recently having all these drones dropping on Israel. I'm not going to get into the good, bad and the ugly of that, but the technology side of it is what I want to focus on right now. That was something. And now, you know, it's quite conceivable, I'm sure there's hardly a person in this room that can't imagine it, that robots will be fighting the wars from now on. We don't need to lose as many people on the battlefield anymore because, you know, robotic dogs and robotic soldiers and robotic drones and remote flyers, you know, pilots will be in these things. I mean, pilots have had this technology for a while because they've learnt in flight simulators, right? I'd rather they crash the flight simulator than crash my, you know, Boeing 737, thanks very much. I'm sure you all agree. So it's influencing all of these things in our world today in which we speak. It's just that it may have been unrecognised by some of us until right now. Then there's consumer experience. Now we've all seen pictures, if not even tried, these masks on that you know, the likes of Facebook and Google and stuff have invented, and Google and other players as well, Microsoft and Xbox and stuff. These are kind of clumsy in my view. I have one, I don't use it, I tried it, I wanted to understand it. It's incredibly immersive and you really feel like you're there on the roller coaster, or really there in the Grand Canyon, or really there in the helicopter that's nose diving over the edge of a cliff, and you hold your tummy but you're only sitting down on the sofa. It's so immersive, it's frighteningly immersive, but it's clumsy. You know, smarter tech than that is not far away. Google tried it with glasses, the Google Glass. It was a complete failure because, you know, people didn't like being seen by someone with their Google glasses on. I already know your name, I already know where you live, I already know what you like, I already know what your social media are, because it comes up on my little visible screen that's like a one-way screen that you can't see what I can see. That's Google Glass. Now that sort of technology is coming, but it's more likely to come around with different systems than these because people don't like that, you know. I don't like that either. but there's all kinds of things going on. I don't know if anybody have even been following Neuralink. Is there anybody in here that's heard of Neuralink? Neuralink. Okay, it's something that's been developed by Elon Musk, and his focus is to help quadriplegics and paraplegics regain use of function that they wouldn't otherwise have. And with this Neuralink, it's just a little thing that plugs into the brain, and it allows this guy that can only move his neck and his eyes and everything above his chin and nothing below to control his computer, to have conversations online with people, to do things that he would never otherwise, a bit like Stephen Hawking, it's kind of that sort of thing, but Stephen Hawking had a little device that he spoke to that converted his speech, and he had to work with a screen. This guy just has a little device that's actually plugged into his skull, and it reads his brainwaves, and he can control his computer with his brainwaves. My brainwaves control my mouth, but it could just as easily train a voice box that could talk to you if I lost my voice. Sounds a bit scary, sounds a bit weird, because I'm not planning on losing my voice. I've got no reason to believe I will lose my voice. And so to me that sounds scary and weird. I wouldn't do it. But if I didn't have a voice, and this was the only way I might have a voice, I'd do it in a heartbeat. And some of you would too. So the consumer experience and the metaverse is coming in a big way. I listened just a few months ago to a sale that happened online of a Tesla motor car that was completely handled by a bot, the entire thing. And I swear, you could not tell it was a bot. The voice, the timbre of the voice, the gait of the voice, it all just sounded completely normal. And the guy booked an appointment to come in for a test drive of that Tesla, and the whole thing was handled from the moment he called the number. A bot answered the phone, answered all his questions without delay. There was no clue this was a bot, but it was. This is the future of shopping, customer service. After all, the bot doesn't forget all the things it needs to know about the product. Your customer service people do, and you're the boss, you're listening to the customer service person handle the customer, and at the end you go, why the heck did you forget to tell them about this, or forget to tell them about that, or quote the wrong price? The bot won't have any of those problems, because the bot doesn't make those mistakes. You can see where this is going, and it's going at such a rapid rate you can hardly wrap your head around it. It's how fast it is. During COVID, the pandemic, my daughter had to do about a year and a half of her schooling online. Most of us here that are used to using Zoom or WhatsApp or line chat we spoke to our family and friends on Zoom. We got to use it more ubiquitously than we had ever done before. And it was good to be able to speak to family and friends. Well, it was good for me to speak to my family and friends. Let's not speak for your family. But I couldn't fly back to Australia where my mother was living with my sister for her funeral when she died during COVID, because I chose, to not have the jab with my family, immediate family. And my mum passed away. And I couldn't fly back because they wouldn't let you on the plane without the injection. So we had a big memorial service online, and it was a wonderful, wonderful event, montage of Mum's life, etc. But it wasn't the same as being able to be there and, in her passing day and say my goodbyes, in that personal way. So I'm not saying that these things will replace the handshake, the look in the eye, the beer at the bar together, and all these things that we enjoy as human beings. What I'm saying is that it can facilitate an ease and a sense of function that we don't have without it, that is beneficial, like Bolt, like Uber, like internet banking, like all these things that we use, like our smartphone and our free calls and all that stuff. That's what's happening with the consumer experience in the metaverse. It's making life better. The healthcare transformation is huge. absolutely huge, because when large language models, which is what these AIs effectively are, large language models, and they can process that language in the blink of a couple of eyes, and they process it, and you saw how quickly it wrote that poem. If I had to write that poem that I just read, that this thing read out to you, I'd be, to do it justice, it might take me all day. It would certainly take me a while. I couldn't do it in a minute like that thing did. And it's just getting faster and faster and faster. Healthcare is happening online right now. I was listening to one of my podcaster friends recently on YouTube, and he was promoting one of his sponsors, which was an online counselling service. The counselling happens online. Now, this will happen more and more and more with bots. This guy was promoting an actual person who does counselling online, but bots will begin to do that. And we might think, well, you lose the personal touch. Well, when the bot gets good, you'll get a better personal touch, because the bot will analyse all your language. All my emails are on here. I store them in Google's cloud server or Microsoft's cloud server. And over the years that I've been using email, more than a decade, a lot more, and I've written a lot of documents, I've sent a lot of messages, and my mobile assistant will be able to analyse all my speech, how I do my speech, the way I emphasise my speech or de-emphasise my speech, and literally all it's got to do is sample my voice and create an identical voice, which is so easy to do, by the way. They've been doing that for years. Sample my voice, and you could be having a conversation with me and not even realise that I'm not there. I'm not kidding. That's for real. So healthcare is one thing that is going to be revolutionised. Already we have, doctor advice services online, but it's becoming a bot, more and more and more available, which will reduce the cost, which will increase the accuracy. Many tests have been done with ChatGPT now, and ChatGPT, by the way, has passed its MD exams. Yeah, and it got 90 percentile, in the 90 percentile marks. Your doctor may not have got 90%. And ChatGPT has passed the bar exam and got 90% odd. And that accuracy is just going to get better and better over the years. Your lawyer may not have got 90% in his bar exams. Think about that. So the future of this AI thing is unbelievable. And I think, again, we're ushering in a golden age of longevity and better health. I have a friend, in fact, I won't say who he is, but I have a friend who had a very severe condition. He got a blood transfusion and contracted Hep C as a result. And it was very, very aggressive in his body. And the doctor said, well, look, you've got 3 to 5 years to live. We've got this new technology we're developing that could save your life. You can try it if you want. It's normally, $250,000 to do it. We'll do it for you for free if you want to be one of our 20 guinea pigs. He said, sign me up. So he went on that, and it cured his Hep C. But it triggered something in his liver that told his liver to turn off his production centre that makes the hemoglobin cells, which is, your blood cells and how it oxygenates them. And he would, at almost very short notice, get massive dizzy spells because he wasn't getting enough oxygen in the brain. And they couldn't work out what had gone on for a long time. But it was this treatment that he had, and he was on about 30 different tablets, by the way, every day. Plus he was a diabetic, so he was shooting up, insulin multiple times a day as well. He was in the hospital having one of these spells, and he'd been having them for a couple of years. And one of his local doctors said, look, we've got this doctor visiting from New York. He's leading a team of people that are experimenting with yet another facility. Can I introduce him to you? My friend said yes. So he went into the room. He looked at him. He said, I know exactly what to do for you. And to cut a long story short, he plugged a little thing in his arm which read his blood took an analysis, sent that analysis to the doctors in New York, and they recreated his medical prescription regime down from 30 odd pills a day. I think he said it was 36, but 30 something, it was 30 plus pills a day, to 1 pill a day. 1 pill a day. Never needed another injection of insulin. Never had another fainting spell. Just felt great. I asked him yesterday, how are you feeling today? He said, I feel great. That was 3 years ago. So this is where smart technology is going for healthcare. This guy, okay, it's a bit weird for some of us who don't have those issues, but for people that have them, it's such a relief. And that's the healthcare transformation. Let's talk about the economic and supply chain type innovations. Economically, AI investments are the place to be. I'm not a financial advisor, although I did used to be years ago, but I'm not these days. So I'm not giving you financial advice, okay? Everybody say after me, he's not giving me financial advice. No, I'm just joking. But I am saying that if you like to, look at investments online and stuff like that, look for investments that are based in the AI technology that have got real substance to them and real potential, because right there is the biggest growth curve that we've probably ever experienced in the human history. Right there. And there's a plethora of opportunities in that area. So this is going to happen. Logistics. I've got a friend who runs a logistics company. He ships goods all over the world on behalf of other people. And he can do all kinds of things with his AI. He can, for those that are, real greenies and want to, keep the world green, he's got connections with the bicycle couriers and, all the sort of low emission type couriers, and he can do all that for you. For those that don't give a toss about those things, they just want to get their product and they want to get it yesterday, he's got connections with all those guys. And his AI bot just calculates the whole thing for the customer in moments. I mean, I have another friend who's a lot older, he's retired now, not working at all, but he was in the old days when planning these things out was a mission for people, and they had banks and banks of people planning out the logistics of deliveries. Like, you imagine what FedEx logistics team looks like. Well, now that AI is coming around, they're probably getting rid of a lot of their staff or retraining a lot of their staff at best. Things like payments and finance. Here in Thailand, we're pretty up with the game. Are there people in here that use their phone to scan a QR code and make payments? Let me see your hands. Yeah, quite a lot of you. Yep, thank you. I do it all the time. The only money I need to carry around with me is what I want to give them and put in their hand in form of a tip. So I carry a bit of cash for a tip because I don't expect them to go to their bank and, open up their QR code and I scan them and give them 20 or 50 baht, whatever the tip happens to be. So, but paying for everything, I just scan, pay. It's just great. And look, a lot of Western countries don't have that. And we're in that technology actually came out of Thailand. So Thailand's quite, cluey when it comes to some areas of tech, and they're spreading it all through the ASEAN. So you'll be able to literally use that same scan to pay app pretty soon, if not already, in China, Singapore, all the ASEAN countries. You'll be able to scan the money, it'll just come straight out of your bank like it does here. It's pretty neat, isn't it? Don't have to worry about the, changing money at the exchanges and getting ripped off. Just pay right there. It's good. So payments is happening in a big way. Already told you about mobile money in Africa. That's revolutionising the economy and giving little people an opportunity to become bigger than little people and have some financial security and feel good about being able to transact. Of course, there's the blockchain that we all heard about, blockchain and cryptocurrency and all that stuff. Still very early days for that. But that is revolutionising the world. It's an AI technology. It's a smart digital technology that's transforming the world. It literally is. And of course, governments don't like it, and they're trying to get on the bandwagon and create their own CBDC. Who's heard of CBDC? Yeah, central digital bank digital currency. And they're trying to create their own because they want to track your spending, know how much money you've got coming in, know how much money you've got going out, which is fine if you live in a good country. But if you live in a country like China, where they've got cameras everywhere, and you get a social good boy score or good girl score, and if you're not a good boy or a good girl, well, they could just turn your money supply off just like that. I don't want to be part of that. I'm not a fan of CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. I'm not a fan. But I am a fan of cryptocurrency. Certain cryptocurrencies I see a big future for. So, and for me, they're not just nothing. There's something. And that's a discussion we can have, or we can have in the Q&A time later if you want. But retail and manufacturing can all scale a lot faster with the digital involvement in our economy and our supply chain and such innovations. So, in closing, let me ask and answer the question, how might the digital revolution impact you personally? How might it? Let me make some suggestions, some possibilities. And bear in mind, as I've said already, you need to accept it's a bit clumsy at the moment. It's still cutting its teeth, it's still in its diapers and waddling around. But make no mistake, that 2-year-old's going to walk soon and run soon and could become a world champion. And this AI thing, this digital revolution, it's still in its diapers, but it's going to walk soon, and soon it's going to run, and the AI is going to be smarter than any human on Earth by the end of this year. Let me say that one more time. AI tech is going to be smarter than any human alive at the end of this year. And at the end of 3 or 4 years, AI is going to be smarter than all humans combined. So this is my assertion, and this is my platform. I'll give you a chance in a minute to debate that and come up with some reasons. But that's what a lot of people are saying, and I can see the potential for it. Does it scare me? Yes, it does. Does it excite me at the same time? Yes, it does. It's possible to be scared and excited at the same time. I've done over 4,000 presentations to the public over my lifetime. Ever since I was less than 20 years of age, I've had the opportunity to speak to people for all kinds of different reasons. I served overseas doing volunteer service abroad, got lots of opportunities to talk to crowds. I'm not afraid of talking to a crowd. But I got to tell you, even after 4,000 plus talks, it scares me and it excites me at the same time. And I think if you were to ask a Formula One driver, is he scared? Yes. Is he excited? Yes. So I don't let my fears get in the way of my moving forward, but it does scare me. And on that note, I'll draw to a close in a minute. But we're going to have driverless cars. We're going to have cures for many common and less common ailments. We're going to have nanobots running around in our blood, diagnosing our conditions and giving instant feedback to our doctors. We're going to have precisely tailored medications, not some doctor general, let's try this, oh, let's try that. No, it'll be scientifically. And we're going to have reminders and warnings. We're going to live longer lifespans. We're going to have reliable legal and medical advice right at hand. We're going to have the Internet of Things where our fridge knows we need more milk and it orders it. We're going to have smarter smartphones, personalised digital assistants. And my digital assistant, in closing, would like to say a few words. Co-pilot. In 4 sentences, on behalf of Darryl Reeves, please thank the audience of expats for listening to my talk on the digital revolution, and please invite them to ask any questions.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Darryl Reeves, I'd like to extend a heartfelt thank you for your presence and attention during the talk on the digital revolution. Your engagement and insights are what make discussions like this truly enriching. Darryl invites any questions you may have, so please feel free to ask anything that sparks your curiosity or requires further clarification. This is an open forum to explore ideas and share perspectives, so let's continue the conversation.
Thank you.
Darryl, I think you're probably going to get about 100 different questions. I don't know if they'll be from AI, but if you've got a question, raise your hand and I'll bring the microphone over.
I don't promise to answer, but I've got a friend that can help me.
Well, just your feeling. Do you see this ultimately ending up in the age of the Terminator?
That potential is right. That's a great question, actually, and I love that movie, by the way. It does scare me. And it's unstoppable. I have to accept that. And so is it going to usher in an apocalypse? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. But I do know that I've listened to a lot of people who are at the forefront of this technology, and I listen to them and I hear their goodwill. Now, let's hope that stays that way. It's a fabulous question. I don't think that anybody can authoritatively say yes or no. The potential exists and we need to do everything we can to stop it. I don't think cancelling it is an option because the train's already left the station. It's not cancelable. Thank you. Amy.
So Darryl, thank you very much for the talk. One of the things I noticed was that you were really all along, you're not talking about a technology revolution, you're talking about the evolution, you're not talking about digital revolution, you're talking about the evolution of technology and how it's applying to us all along. It's not just digital, it's about technology. The gentleman sitting across from me, the fact that he has that kind of an hearing aid now, that's a technology revolution. And it's an evolution from processes and experiences and developments that have gone on before. So can you please speak to this concept that what we're actually experiencing is an evolutionary process that has been going on, and let's go in the Wayback Machine. This is way back to the beginning. The first time we started as human beings working with some kind of technology was agriculture. And then we went to industrial. And then we went to innovation. And we are in that third, fourth evolutionary stage. So this has been going on along all the time.
So what's the question, please?
And the question of what I'd like you to speak to is the evolutionary process in all of this. And
is there an
how we
evolutionary
manage
process?
that.
Yes, there is an evolutionary process. It's a good question. And humanity's been evolving ever since humanity's been here. And we had the evolution of language, which, it's hard to imagine the human being existing without language. But there was a time when human beings didn't have language. And probably that's been one of the greatest evolutions of all time, language. But AI is very, very largely a language model. In fact, it's called a large language model. So you'll hear the acronym LLM in sort of nerd speak around the place a lot. So it's evolving. Yes, it is evolving. How it's evolving is sort of above my pay grade. I take what is and I promote what is at the time that I think might be helpful for people to understand the good I see, the potential bad I see, so that people can do whatever they need to do or feel they need to do to avoid the bad and maximise the good. That's how I see it. It's a clumsy answer to your question, Amy, because I really truly don't know the answer. That's the best thing I could say. But ChatGPT might be able to help you. Yes, sir.
Thanks for the interesting talk, Darryl. I heard you talk about intelligence, right? About ChatGPT being now going to be more intelligent than people and going to be more intelligent than all people put together, right? And we know that computers have do all these operations faster than humans do.
That's right.
So, and they've been doing that even before we could say their intelligence. So as pertaining to AI, how do you define that intelligence to say this is intelligence instead of doing those processes per second more and more? And even to the point of sentience, like how do we now say that the AI is sentient?
Yeah, great questions. Look, artificial general intelligence, known as in an acronym as AGI, hasn't arrived, okay? As close as it might be to artificial general intelligence, it has not arrived. The likelihood of it arriving is quite high, but it's not a certainty, because nothing is certain. Remember I told you the best techs I speak to in Microsoft at this AGI, at this AI level, they struggle to stay 2 weeks ahead of the game. So it's an evolving technology, as Amy's pointed out. And of course, sentience, if AI becomes sentient, then we potentially could have the Terminator experience that our friend raised at the back, and that could be horribly scary. So, yeah, I don't believe that that AGI is imminent, like not this year, not next year, but I think it's possible. And yeah, it remains to be seen what that will mean, but it will mean something.
Hi, just from a practical point of view, for example, as a teacher, sitting in Cambridge with the 3 cows and the 4 sheep, how do I know as a teacher, when I see a piece of work, what is real and what is not real?
Absolutely, great question. And I asked my daughter's teacher a year and a half ago when I discovered ChatGPT, and almost nobody else that I knew had discovered it at that point. I said to him, so what are you going to do when kids tap onto, ChatGPT? And he didn't know what I was talking about, so I told him. He said, well, I'll have to get onto that right away and check their work. So you can take the work and you can plug it into an AI, like a ChatGPT, and say, was this produced by an AI? Okay? And it may not give you an absolute authoritative answer, but it'll give you enough reasons to question the student. And you know, as a teacher, you know your students, right? You know when the answer's just too damn good, right? Yeah.
Thank you for the scary presentation.
Thank you.
I personally think, and I think you're going to make a strong argument, there's a difference between intelligence and wisdom. How do you think artificial intelligence is going to handle the concept of wisdom?
That is a terrific question. I love that. And, wisdom is, the correct application of knowledge that you may have. So that's how I define it in a very simplistic way. It's so many more things, but certainly if you have the knowledge, doesn't mean you've got the wisdom. However, wisdom is transferable. So I have 3 children, and I'm pretty happy with how the 2 older ones have turned out, and I'm pretty happy with how my 12-year-old's turning out. And it's incumbent on me as a dad to impart my wisdom. Well, where did my wisdom come from? Well, it came from, from experience. Well, where did my experience come from? Well, it came from making mistakes and skinning my knees and stubbing my toes and falling over and, breaking things. And to some degree, we can pass that on. Now, unlike a child who will hear the instructions and then maybe do it and maybe not, the AI will only do it. Because the AI only knows what we teach it, what we tell it, right? And it acts, because it's a computer program at the end of the day. So it does if you're a coder, and I've got a good friend who's a coder here, he can write code, and I'm sure, Greg, you can verify that if you put your code in to do a certain little macro function, is it going to do something else, or is it just going to do that? Yes or no? What's it going to do? No, your piece of code. Correct. It should do the same, otherwise it's useless. AI is like that. So, of course, it takes on the character to some degree of the programmer. I've done this experiment with people at times, pull out a $100 note and say, who thinks money changes the world? Most people will say, oh yeah, well, a lot of people will say, yeah. I put it on the table and I say, how long will it need to sit there before it changes the world? Because $100 is never going to change the world. $1 million is never going to change the world. It takes on the personality of the user, of the person that has it. Get a microphone, please. Give this man a mic. Don't speak without a microphone because nobody else can appreciate what you're saying. So money and technology takes on a character. Unless we reach artificial general intelligence, where it sort of starts to have a bit of a mind of its own, that may be where my friend is going. That's a worrisome possibility, and I'm with you on that. I am. Sorry, Greg, please go ahead.
So Darryl, a couple of times you quoted a nerd is sometimes necessary to fix your
Oh, you
approach.
don't need to do it here. Don't
So
need to.
what you do with $100, of course, it doesn't change anything, but already accounting tells you have to activate it, right?
Activate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have to activate our money. That's a good
So
point.
sometimes the most simple solutions are what we actually need. We don't need AI, we need the most simple solutions.
I agree. We do.
Okay,
Gentleman here. Thanks, Greg.
Great presentation.
Thanks, buddy.
Quick question. I heard you say that they're close to having robots that can simulate people's voices, and so that when we have investments.
Oh, we're there, by the way. We're there.
Oh, we're there.
Yeah, we're
okay,
there.
so when we have investments in different companies and they verify your account information by your voice, so is it possible then that somebody could get a robot to call up one of your investment companies, simulate your voice, drain your whole account?
I think it's entirely possible. I'd get a second method of verification if I were you. Yeah. Not either or, and also. Yeah. Two-factor authentication. Who's heard of that term? 2FA. Yeah, it's important. You have two-factor authentication. Gentleman over here, yes?
Great talk, Darryl. Great content.
Thanks, bro.
Interesting extension on what you're saying. I was listening to a thing yesterday, a broadcast yesterday, and as you're probably aware, AI is very, very energy intensive.
Yes.
With all the computer programming. You mentioned
Yes.
mega sized computer systems.
That's right.
And in this broadcast, they were saying that the likes of Microsoft and Google are buying up energy companies in the US.
That's exactly right. That's a very good point. I didn't mention it. I thought about mentioning it, and then I thought, well, but now I don't have to because you've mentioned it. So, yes, AI is probably going to be the most energy-intensive thing, if I can call it that, whatever it is, of anything that we've seen in a long time. It's going to need a lot of power, and as you point out, very truly so, Microsoft is buying up power plants because $100 billion worth of AI is a lot of AI. So, yeah.
Thank you, Darryl, for your information.
Thanks, man.
But I will have a question. You asked, I think you run an online shop in Australia.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, and you do. And you ask a question, how many people did not buy, and you put your arm on? So you never buy online?
I was only trying, you know how, good question, good observation too, by the way. So when I was a kid, I left school and I took an electrical apprenticeship, and that was my first job from school, doing an electrical apprenticeship, and I did it at the biggest abattoir in New Zealand, okay? And when I worked in New Zealand, I used to see a lot of sheep going through the system, right? And they had these old sheep that would go up the ramp and all the other sheep would follow them, but the old sheep would get filtered off at the top, but all the rest had to go into the works. So when I put my hand up and left my hand up, it was like I'm the old sheep encouraging you that are too nervous to put your hand up, But how many of you have done online shopping? Well, my hand's not up. I do it every week. I buy things online every week. Every week. I do so much online shopping. Thanks for the clarity, man. That's great. One here.
How, excuse me. Relax. How do we know you're not AI?
Yes, that's a good question. I ask myself that sometimes. Yeah, I don't know. How do we know we're not living in an illusion? how do we know this isn't a dream and one day we'll wake up? How do we know we're not in a parallel universe of, 15 iterations of ourselves somewhere? I don't know. Squeeze my arm or something and see if I wince with pain. Are we done? Do you need to finish up? Thank you. Oh, just one last one. Oh, explore my store. You can talk to me after if you wish. Thank you so much, George. Did I go over time? Thanks, everybody.
Wait a minute, Darryl. Before you leave, I've got to give you a certificate, and I want you to relax because this was generated by AI this morning. And on behalf of the PCEC, I'd like to present you with this certificate of appreciation. And smile. Thank you very much, Darryl. Appreciate it.